Good evening. I'm Kate Chartner and Chair of tonight's meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. Welcome to our May 7th, 2025 meeting. Tonight, we will review one new application, one continued application, and then we have two items under other business. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking in order to preserve bandwidth, and in order to preserve bandwidth, may need to turn off video as well, with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. I will call on commissioners for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with conditions, or to reject an application, then ask for a second and conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting or stay if they'd really like. So I'm going to do a roll call for the members tonight, and I'll start with Dennis Fiore, who's there. He's on mute, but I know he's there.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Unmuted.
Louis Caldarella.
Here.
Walter Clay.
Here.
And Timothy Whitney.
I'm here.
All right, and myself, Kate Charter, and we are the voting members tonight as well. Tim, Walter, Louis, Dennis, and myself. So without further ado, let's please start with our first new public hearing, and our only one tonight, for 59 Walden Street. And I think W.H. Walden LLC is being represented by Christina Hill about installing a wall sign and a post sign. And are you here tonight? I don't see
I
you.
am.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, there you are, Chris Hill. Oh, all right. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. So yes, please tell us what's going on. We'll be particularly interested in hearing why this sign is so much bigger than the prior approved sign on the previous building.
I wasn't aware that there was a prior approved sign on the previous building. I know, I believe that we have Billy Crosby here to talk about what the plan is, and I don't know if he is Crosby's corner or not. Don't know. Oh,
Hi.
there we go.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Billy.
Hi. Hey, Chris.
How are you?
Good. So, what do you want me to talk about?
Well, we can pull up the
Yeah, just pull up the pictures and we can talk about it. The sign's smaller than the existing sign in square footage.
The new one is smaller.
Yeah. The other sign drops all the way down below it. The existing sign, they kept it up there. So if
Which sign are you
I
talking
tried to
about?
do that in the drawings. If you take a look at it, I'm placing the new one over the halo of the old one so you could see the size.
When you say old one, you mean the one on the prior building?
No, the existing frame from
Oh.
there's a freestanding sign, and then we can do one at a time if you want, but if you want to do the freestanding sign, we can pull up those pictures first if you want.
Sure. We'll start wherever.
If I have an opinion, I would rather see the one on the building that we're talking
Oh,
about.
either one. Yeah, doesn't matter.
That's fine then.
All the same.
So do you guys post the pictures?
Uh,
I have my copies of them, but
And
I
are you able
can
to share your
take them from the
screen?
site. Do you
Yes.
want me to share?
yeah, just whatever the ones that we dropped off were.
Okay.
when I say earlier sign, I should clarify. I am talking about the sign that we approved in 2007 for this same site, different building.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so we'll get to that. Just
You would like me to share my screen? Is that correct?
No, just, does the town not share the pictures like they usually do?
I think Anne is trying to share her screen, but
We're having a little
Can't see
technical
this.
difficulty tonight.
No problem.
Can you not
Chris,
see
do you
my
have
screen
pictures
right
of
now?
them?
we can't see it, Anne. It just says Zoom on there.
Okay.
Do you want Chris to share it instead?
Chris, do you
Oh,
have
let
any of
me-
those?
Sorry, let me try again.
I do.
Here it is. Do you see it?
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah.
For starters. So. Yep. Yeah, that one's a pretty good one. So I did a couple different versions, so trying to darken the background out so it doesn't get in the way of the other one, but so this would just be the horizontal sign, and you can see the old sign going below it where the green and the white are, and then the old post went all the way out. So instead of coming out close to the sidewalk, we were suggesting a 6 to 8 inch granite post with a single sign coming out across, out to the middle of the old post. So the other one took the full square footage with posts down. This would just be a smaller sign under a metal bracket that's 4 or 5 inches lower than the roof of the other sign. It's inside this sign, and we've moved the post back towards to get it away from the sidewalk a little bit, behind the first step, lined up with the second step. So we were on purpose trying to make a smaller sign.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the flat wall sign, I have no history from the past, how big it was. So we just picked a size that we thought was appropriate for that. And there should be one with the drawing on it. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I did a couple different views, closer and farther away. So that's basically a view from the street, and then zoomed in, you can see the how it fits inside the windows, and that would just be a flat wall sign. 81 by 33. It just seemed like that was a good balance for it there, but
Well, it's true. I mean, the new building is larger and has that sort of face didn't exist on the prior building.
yeah,
For the commission, I will refer to the sign that was there, that was approved in 2007, was 5'1" by 1'8". This is the wall, this is the wall sign.
on the building. Oh, it must have been down closer to the door then, right? I would guess.
And this one, this proposed one is 6 feet 9 inches
Yeah.
by 2 feet 9 inches.
And I
So,
assume that you remember what the building used to look like. It was a 1-story brick building.
mhm.
I'm sure you remember.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures and I do remember.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's why I said I understand that the facade is different and there's the sort of bigger space, but just because it's a bigger space, it's still, this is an area that goes from commercial into quite a nicely preserved residential area. So just because the facade is bigger, that doesn't necessarily follow that we're going to say, yes, here's a much bigger sign.
Yep.
So that's kind of a bit of a change there. And in terms of the post, it says here on the application, the post is 6 feet 6 inches high, the granite
Yep.
post, Billy.
Yep.
And why is that so high? That's pretty tall for.
Yeah,
Center.
it could easily be lower. I mean, it's just trying to get it so if somebody's driving by, they could actually see it, but it's I don't know. Chris, do you have
And
any
it's
thoughts on that?
That's no taller than what is there
I made
currently,
it
correct?
under, I put the top of the post at the existing height of the top of the old sign and then drop the bracket down. And then the sign is actually under the bracket. So it's about, 8 or 9 inches lower than the existing sign that was there. And it's inside it, like on purpose, I was making everything smaller than the other one, the last one that was there.
The existing sign, do you mean the post for the Keller Williams sign that's been up during construction, that one?
Yes, but that's the old frame where the old sign was within that. So I tried to
Mhm.
stay smaller on purpose and at least flush to the top for the top of the post part.
Okay.
And then in from the street a little bit
Okay.
without having that extra post on the outside, because there's no need for it for a sign this small.
Right. Got it. Okay.
And it's so, well, Edie Hill had liked the look of some of the ones over at Tuttle's Livery, but they're kind of massive posts. So we just went with a little skinnier post to pick up that granite look on the other side of 51 Walden.
Okay. Tim, do you raise your hand?
And I just walked that street right before the meeting extensively. And just some observations is all the wall signs are I didn't find one sign in town that was close to 33 inches high. Maybe there are, but most of them are a foot to 18, 16. They're very low and linear. Many of them are quite long. So that's comment number one, is this is a really different proportion. And I'm talking about the wall sign. Number two is the signs that are mounted on posts, including Tuttle's Livery, they're all quite low and they're set back a little bit farther. They're more like 3 feet from this edge of sidewalk to the sign. This one, the existing sign that's sort of propped up there now, is the closest one to the sidewalk by about a foot. So, and it's higher, other than the Fopac sign, which is kind of a wood sign, tucked very tightly to the building. It's by far the highest sign on posts. I like the fact that it's turning into a single granite post with a bracket. I sort of generally like the look, but that's just comment number two on the 2 and 3, I guess, on the blade sign on the post is, and I think we do need to we got 2 comments from 2 letters from neighbors saying, very thoughtful letters, I thought, just saying, please be aware that this is transitional area, residential. And so I think it's really a kind of a scale of sign and placement of sign. So I'm those are my comments for the moment.
Thanks, Tim.
Oh, and just one more comment. The wall signs are all integrated in a place that works with the facade. It's either in a panel or between 2 windows. I mean, Tuttle's Livery is just a beautiful sign located beautifully. This one is just kind of plunked between. I know it lines up with windows, but if it could work with the frieze of the door and be much lower.
Yep.
I wouldn't personally mind if it was longer. It would be much more in keeping with the rest of the town. But if the wall sign were lower and longer and working with the door element rather than just being symmetrical on windows, it would be much more in keeping with pretty much all other signs. And
Yeah, well,
on the
to
street.
that point, they do have, several different styles of logo, of their look, and they do have one would be the KW Boston Northwest, and then Keller Williams just runs off to the right side. And I kind of agree with you on the either using the top of the doorway line as a wider, thinner sign, and especially if that was what was up there before. But if the KW went to the left and the Keller Williams went to the right, and it was flush at the bottom, it would probably go down to a half size of the height and back down to 15 inches high. And then whatever the width would be with those with the logos left and right. So that could be Chris, you can comment anytime on this too, what your feelings
Sure.
are, but I think that would actually not be a bad look. We were just trying to match the same brand, their same brand, but that would be a lower, wider one if that's something that everybody would like to comment on, maybe.
Could you take the lower, wider sign and just have one sign on 2 granite posts up against the ramp, rather than a sign on the building or a blade sign? Just one nice sign up against the ramp.
But I have something.
Well, most of the businesses in that area do have both a blade, don't they have both a blade sign and something on the building as well? For instance, Barrett has a blade sign coming off the building and then also a sign on the building itself. And then also, right next door to us, 51 Walden, that sign is extremely high compared to ours.
It is wooden, not granite.
Oh, do you prefer wooden?
Yes. I
do.
certainly.
I think.
You
I mean,
said you do
Popak is
prefer
the
wooden?
only one.
I'm sorry.
Wait. Back to, okay, I hear what Dennis is saying. I know, let's see, sometimes, Chris, what we will see is, yes, there's a lot of 2 signs, blade and wall. One's usually quite subordinate to the other. The one that comes to mind on Main Street was it Cambridge Savings? That's near the, on the same side of the street as the bookstore. They'd had 2 larger ones and one became just much more subordinate to the other. So, it's,
Yeah, because I'm looking at almost every single business on Walden Street has both the blade, maybe not all of them, most of them have both the blade and the
Flat wall.
flat, yep. Just on Google Maps.
Walter, you were asking something.
Well, I have any number of things I would want to say, but what's most pertinent to this is I'm concerned about the lack of landscape and the clearing of the entire property. If we're talking, is what Dennis was saying is, couldn't we put a sign up against the ramp? My understanding is that ramp is supposed to be obscured by plantings.
That's correct.
Okay, and one of the things that I am wrestling with a little bit is I think it's going to be extremely difficult to figure out what the impact is of the signage without understanding what the landscaping is going to be that's put back. Right now, I thought there was going to be a tree to a side that's not there, obviously. I know there was a maple early on that was taken down in the process. But what I remember is a flat-topped hedge going across and completely obscuring the view of the ramp there, taking it out of the picture. And if we're looking at putting signage in the space there, I was down there 5 o'clock or so today as well, looking, and given what looks to be the probably the pour pattern for concrete or bricking there, there's almost no space left for a tree in the front, certainly. And I'm not sure that the hedging is being allowed for there either. You are committed to putting a hedge in?
I believe this was designed with respect to the landscaping that had been approved. So
Right.
yes,
A
for
couple of
sure.
Yeah, I think in some ways this is me as an aside, but I think it's perhaps premature to be deciding on signage without understanding the context for the signage there. That said, I think picking up the granite on that side was what I heard. On the other side of 51, I don't think that's an especially strong argument for putting granite. And in general, we seem to be trying to keep the amount of granite that is being put into places decoratively to a minimum. So using granite for that sign there with the argument that it's continuing the commercial look on the other side of 51, I think is a little shallow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Edie just said she liked the granite post, and I thought that would be something that everybody would like, but I mean, I think a nice wooden post with a cap would be fine too, or just a post with a, you know, a 45-degree angle tip to it or something like that, you know, or a ball
Yeah,
cap
and-
or something.
And I
don't think-
do agree with Billy. I think the granite post looks much nicer. However, we would be happy to do a wooden post if you would all prefer that. My only comment was that 51 Walden is a lot, that sign is much taller than the one that I think we're proposing. Looks to be much taller.
Yeah, we're 6 feet tall, and that one is, it's old, but it goes way up top, and it's got the brace in the back, and then it comes all the way across forward. And sometimes that gets to be, we redid that one a long time ago. Not the post, but the sign. And it's, you know, probably 12 feet high at top of the post, I'm guessing. It's because the sign is 3 feet deep, and you have to take a ladder to put it up. So that sign's pretty high. So
Also supporting lighting, isn't it?
yeah, I can't remember. But
It is.
Yeah, it is.
yeah, yeah.
All right, well, let's, I do agree with Walter. And that was something that struck me, when I was looking at this application, that it would be helpful for context if we're trying to figure out, kind of the right, scale for these signs in relation to the building and to each other to, have had them placed in a landscape sketch. And might there be one kicking around?
Yes, among 300 other files. So
Oh my goodness.
take me a little bit to find it.
I think that would be very useful.
Okay. Is that something you want to look at tonight, just the landscaping, or is this for future?
I think it'd be, I mean, I think tonight would be great if you could, pull some up,
Okay.
Yeah, because particularly with the post sign, but it's kind of hard to get a sense,
Yeah.
Sure.
We
and
left
then-
about 2 feet from the back of the post to the ramp wall for whatever bushes that there or hedges that they're going to put in there. But I haven't seen those.
Walter?
Yeah. I was just going to say, it is seeming to me like this is probably going to end up being a continuance. And we have quite a few questions about alternatives to logos and signs, as well as not understanding what the context is for the landscape and all. And I've heard a few comments of, oh, we did that because we thought that's what somebody would like, or we don't, I don't care. It could be anything you want, or, I don't know why we're doing that, or we're doing that because it, reflects what's 2 doors down and they did this. I would be a lot more comfortable feeling that some of this was much more consciously decided and thought through. Seems to be
I think actually
flip.
a lot of it was consciously decided. We're just questioning those
Yeah,
decisions.
okay. Okay, fair
Yes,
enough.
for sure. A lot of time and planning has gone into this, believe
Yeah.
me.
So it's, yeah, and it's not uncommon for us to sort of, have a couple of questions that,
Sure.
coming with something. I think, let's see, does anyone else on the commission have questions right now while Chris is looking for that stuff? Lewis, you live around the corner?
I
Thoughts?
mean, it does seem like in that part of the neighborhood that's more residential than the rest of the commercial district, that to have neighbors looking at that. My house doesn't look at it, but there are houses across the street that have such a massive sign. It doesn't seem appropriate or fitting with that part of Walden Street.
Do you think what Tim mentioned?
Something above the doorway that would
the
be,
doors, yeah, kind of and we've done that recently like 2 years ago, changed it from a kind of blockier sign to
Something
along-
horizontal above a door. I mean, I think above a door is more, when you have it right on the facade, it's like the whole building becomes like a neon sign for advertisement, you know, it's too,
Yeah,
very big too. I think, but I do think something more horizontal over a doorway would be more in
or
keeping.
at least- I don't know if the doorway has enough room.
And then windows off center to it. It seems a little bit awkward, but
Let's see the picture.
I do have the kind of one of the landscaping plans. It's kind of hard to, I can bring that up if you would like.
Sure, let's see. I mean,
Okay. Let's see here. Do you want to share? Okay. And maybe Billy can explain where that sign is going.
mhm.
can we rotate it or no?
I can tilt our heads.
So the post, if you look at the stairs,
Rotate it a little bit. Let's
One
see.
more.
Sorry.
one more.
It's coming.
Getting there.
Nope. We're
Go
back.
back.
Let's
We can
see.
tilt our heads.
10th one's the charm, I think.
There? Is that good?
Two more.
Okay.
Well, that would work, I guess.
There?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Well done.
Yay.
yay.
All
Okay.
right. I could just.
All right. So if you
All
see
right.
this, if you can, is there a way to point at it? But just hold it still for a second. So
Okay.
the stairs
Yep,
coming down, the granite post would be in line with the first, the final step right there.
got
So
it.
this is the existing sign, is that correct?
So that's the existing sign, yes. So we're going away from the street sort of on purpose because we thought that would be a good thing, but taking away one of the posts to
Yep.
take more junk out of there and
Mhm.
then sliding it back into the nook and then the rest of that is landscape. So, I mean, that's a pretty loose landscape, but it would be in a, basically sort of in the cluster of, just above the cluster of those bushes.
All right, so
So
those
it's
are.
not like nobody's walking by it, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a grassy area. So we were just trying to move it as small as possible and back to where it feels comfortable. And I just end up lining it up with that first stair, the granite stair, and then probably a foot back. I think I had it away from the stair, just wherever it would fit nicely in that corner. So it looks like that drawing, I think the post is actually probably a little farther back towards the building in those
Yep.
two little square. Yeah, like right there. That would be the post. Sign would come out. And if you look on the other drawing, you know, it goes out to about where the other post is, just the tip of the sign right there. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's, you
Oh,
know,
that's very helpful. And then those are used, oh, sorry, Tim?
I just want to say, I'm not sure the ramp is built like this. It's a straight shot down and then it turns in 180-degree turn. And I'd have to go back and look at it, but then it's a straight shot back that shows sort of a meandering sidewalk up to from the sidewalk. So I just think someone should go out there and look at that
Yeah.
to see what's actually built, because I don't think this is quite what the plan is. I may be
Yeah,
wrong, but I don't think it's it's like just a straight shot out, straight shot back.
Wrong on the plan. Oh, Edie said it's wrong on the plan, actually. Why don't you just come upstairs?
Hmm. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, I honestly, I've been there a million times and I couldn't tell you what it looks like.
Oh, I was there once and it doesn't look like that.
Okay,
That's a help.
all right, well, I don't know.
Hey, Chris, could you just move the sketch or can you just tell me, what is, I know that the shrubbery right near, oh, it's you, okay. I was just looking for what was the, gonna be the shrub alongside the ramp. That's great. It's all you, I see. Spreading English U and Greenway view. Got it. Because that
Yeah.
would.
I
great,
think
that-
this is what was approved. I don't know why that sidewalk's there if it's not supposed to be.
That's the old sidewalk, and I believe, I haven't been to the site in a couple of weeks, but I believe the sidewalk goes straight out. So there'll probably have to be some adjustments in that landscaping.
Okay.
Straight out, you mean like at a 90-degree angle? Like boom, boom.
They can't see your finger. Like straight down here.
Across to
Yeah.
the driveway.
Tim,
Right
would that
down.
be code?
Well, it's all gonna.
It all
it's a
has to do with
handicap-
the handicap access, making it easier for them.
And
yeah,
we've
it's a
been working
handicap
with
ramp.
the building
I don't know
department.
what's 1 to 20 and what's 1 to 12 on this, but,
Okay, well, we can,
I think we should, and that comment was made also by, in one of the letters, is the softening of the ramps and signage part of the project, and we should know what's being built out there, because I don't know if there's that dimension for the hedge or not. I think that just doubles back on itself, and there's no dimension to screen the wall of the ramp, but, not sure.
All right, well, okay, I think we've covered a fair amount of ground. I'm going to open it to public comment. Is there any public comment on 59 Walden?
This is John Preston. Sorry for the young child crying in the background. I'm a neighbor and I appreciate the conversation about integrating this, and I echo my neighbors who wrote the letters.
Thank you. You're at 77 Walden? You're muted, so I'm going to say yes, you are. Okay. Anybody else from,
Kathy, there's a raised hand up there.
who does?
Raised hand above you.
Oh, I don't know. Kim or Ann, can you get the raised hand? I can't see it.
Kathy Fleming.
It's Kathy
Kathy
Fleming.
Fleming.
Oh, yeah, sure. Hi. You're
She's-
muted. Okay. Kathy? Well, there's probably a good chance she'll have another opportunity to say something because who would like to make a motion on this? Walter?
What I would say is probably going to be so extensive you wouldn't want to hear it.
Well, if it's going to be a continuance, it actually
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I move that we continue the application until the next meeting. Is it that simple?
Yes, we
Uh,
could,
59 Walden Street. With the understanding that alternative logos and sign layouts will be considered to be presented, and that a definitive landscape plan accompanies the presentation for the application for signage.
Hey, do we need to have a site visit?
would you like one? We haven't had one here in a long time.
When you say here, you mean at this particular project?
Yes.
I think.
Well,
it'd
I
be
think,
beneficial.
I think given the unknowns of the landscape, I'd like to go look at that again.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cause now that I've seen, I guess what was the approved site plan, the rendered site plan.
Hmm.
And what is going on there? Because the landscape and the signage needs to work together, so.
Mhm.
If the applicant is amenable,
So
to
Chris, how that would,
have a continuance plus have a site visit that morning, 3 weeks from now.
so yeah, how that would work in case you haven't had one yet or remember, Chris, is we would, members of the commission would convene at 8 a.m. at 59 Walden. We just look around, ideally, a representative, anybody is there. And we, check it out. And then that night, we have another meeting and then we vote on it.
Okay, just so that I'm a little bit more clear, did you not want the granite if we were to redesign this, or is the granite acceptable?
Granite is an acceptable material in the district. But Dennis, thoughts?
No, I have no strong opinion. I think the
Yeah,
granite,
I mean,
to me,
it's-
granite would be fine.
Right, I mean, it's an acceptable material.
If someone else thinks wood's superior, I'd go along with that. I have no strong opinion on it.
I have a strong opinion based on the way, on the rhythm coming off the upper part of Walden Street there. And I think that, to me, there's pretty much a break before the Arts and Theater Center with towards the left as you face it, being more commercial, and towards the right being very much the start of the residential part. I think that this building is lacking enough in historical reference, to put it in historical terms, that whatever is done there is potentially going to be just a reinforcement of the commercial side of things, if it is very commercial, and it's going to be disruptive of what I sense as being a fairly logical flow from the commercial part and tunnels over to the hardcore 18th century residential there. So if that makes sense.
You're thinking of a transition. I hear you.
So referencing back to the granite that's on, 2 doors down to the left, when we've already just sort of gently broken off the granite towards the more residential, I think is counterproductive historically.
If I could make a comment again as a neighbor, perhaps we've been talking about referencing towards the left. If we look towards the right, the Scout House and the houses also have fences that I think would be a nice reference point. So our house has granite posts, but the one that's immediately next door has wooden posts. And the Scout House, as I'm looking at it, has a combination of both.
Yes, thank you, John. It is an acceptable material, Chris.
Okay, thank you. And then the part of the issue with the building, the sign that's on the building itself, it's just too big. Are you all feeling as though that's too big and needs to be smaller, and therefore placed someplace probably above the door, or if there, I don't know that there's room there, but someplace that, and make it more like the size of, I don't know what the.
So I can jump in a little, Chris. So
Sure.
I was going to ask the same thing, just to get, now that we have everybody, just so we don't make sketches that are going to have the same comment. So if
Yeah.
the sign, if everybody's agreeing that the sign as is too big, and then the two options would be put a small sign above the door, but that's feeling awkward to me because of that window. And if anybody had comments on that, if we could, if that was off the table. If not, I'm happy to just do a sketch and try. I can just do them both. But a small sign above the door seems like it's a little too high, and it's going to jam up that space between the window. If there was a sign in the middle, would people like a longer, lower sign, more either centered on the top of the wood frame above the door, or maybe even in line with the top? I don't know if that would feel too awkward. I feel like centered, kind of still in between the windows, wherever it would be, but slightly wider than it is now, but probably half the thickness knowing that the two lines would be straight across. So, you know, maybe going from the middle of this window to the middle of that window to the right window, but obviously a lot shorter because it would just have KW, Boston Northwest, and then the Keller Williams on the right. So just a smaller sign, and I could do 2 or 3 different sizes or something like that. And I just want to see if that's something that would work, because it seems kind of like the logical spot for a flat wall sign to me, you know.
Yeah.
The
think that's
KW is almost the same size as the spacing that's available on the pediment across top of the door, right?
I think, Walter, though, what Billy has said, and
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just saying,
That-
if you
that
take
window.
if you take that space and that height as the reference,
Yeah,
put your sign to the
Right.
right. of
exactly.
it,
You drop the
visually.
bottom line and move it over to the right. Maybe have to make that a little smaller or something like that. And it would just be, you know, a touch wider or wider and then shorter.
Yeah,
So-
I'd be fine personally. You know, I think I'd be fine with it being shorter and longer across, even if it took up the width of those 2 windows, as
Yeah.
long as it was oriented
Right.
with the line coming off.
Yeah,
of it. I
yeah.
think visually, that's what we're
Yeah, and if anybody wants to see it above the door, I don't feel like that works just because of that odd window, but if I could try that too, so.
I think that,
Tim?
sorry, who's that?
Could I make
I
another
think-
comment? Kathy Fleming?
Oh, Kathy can talk now.
Yeah. Could you hear me before? No?
Nope. No.
Oh, okay. So, couple of things. The area there, it sounds like you're gonna have a site visit, so you'll see for yourself. It seems like there's very little area for landscaping. It just seems like all hardscape to me. And the other thing is, what material would the signs be? Wood, or I think in the proposal it's PVC.
Yeah, the explanation of the PVC, we've been using it for about 15 years now, but we make it look exactly like wood. They just last and they don't rot and they don't fall down. So it would be probably 1.5 inches thick blank that would sort of look like a piece of mahogany. We sand all the edges and smooth them out and then paint them a satin finish. So basically they look like some of the old mahogany signs we used to do. They just don't rot or fall down. But we do either raised letters, like the KW would be a little raised letter, and then the other ones would be carved, and sometimes a combination of 3, like one part of it could be painted. So just kind of like different dimensions. You know, we'll do something raised and something carved, or sometimes we do them all carved if people prefer that. But people seem to like the multiple levels of it, just so it doesn't look like it's a vinyl sign.
Billy, did you do the Lacoste gallery signs? Because I think they have that raised and carved.
Lacoste is where? I don't think.
It's near Helen's on Main Street going toward Monument Square. It's the ceramics gallery. Did you do that sign?
No, I don't think so. Lacoste. No, I think those are carved though. The letters are carved, right?
It's
Or
carved.
they're
I thought some were raised, though. She's
Yeah,
changed
we've
her-
been doing a combo. People seem to like the combo of a couple of different things. So sometimes the biggest letters we'll raise them and pin them off just a little bit, so it creates a little bit of a drop shadow. And then sometimes we'll try to add a little bit of carving in there, just so it has some hand carved look too.
I just wanted to give Kathy an example of maybe one that was in the area that was
Yeah.
like that, so she could take a look. Because
Yeah.
most of the ones, we haven't approved a wood sign in a while.
Right. Yeah, the wood signs are troublesome, you know, back in the day, just because people would have a company for 10 years or 15 years, and they don't want to pay to fix the sign. And then so once this PVC came out, and we've kind of learned how to treat it so it looked like wood. They've lasted, you know, for a long time. So with zero maintenance, which makes us look a little bit better. So that's been kind of approved. Your historic district signs are PVC now.
Yeah, right.
You
Okay,
know,
thank
so-
you.
and
Tim.
but we just make them look wood. So that's the. not that
I was
it's
gonna
trick.
say, I know we try to shy away from asking people to bring alternative designs back. We've generally been asking people to just give it their best shot, but I do think this does remind me of the Concord Museum sign, where it took several iterations because they were putting a sign essentially in a historic area, I mean, a residential area.
Yeah.
And it took some time. And so we asked them to bring back alternatives, not to burden you all with lots of alternatives, but I think if you can, my recommendation would be to look at the sign to the right of the door, not over the door. Make it lower, make it longer. How long, how thin? If you can do a couple iterations.
Yeah, I
I
would definitely,
think,
yep, I would definitely do
you
a
know,
bunch.
and as Walter said, it may stretch from one side of the outside of one window to the outside of another quite long, if it's
Yep.
12 inches high or something. So
Yep.
and that will give us a chance and you to really sort it out.
Yep.
On the wall sign.
Are
Sounds
we
good.
asking them for a site visit to do paper mock-ups that are gonna be taped on the building? So we can see it in place?
I could do that.
Okay, if you can do that,
We've done that in the past. We've done
Even
craft
better.
paper,
It's
craft
helpful.
paper,
yeah,
just blank, so we can see what it looks like.
yeah, it doesn't have to have the design, you don't have to
No,
figure out.
just
which
this,
design or
we
whatever.
just want to see the scale and the spacing.
Yeah.
The
Just a
plate,
piece of wood or paper or whatever, yeah.
yeah.
Or we could
I'll
set
do-
up a projector in the steeple of Tricon and shoot across the-
He's kidding.
Sure.
He's kidding. Okay, so does that answer any of your questions, Chris, for what we might need for the next meeting?
Yes,
And then
that's very helpful. And that's 8 AM on what date?
is that the 3rd?
May
It's
28th.
May 28th.
May 28th, oh, in 21 days, right? Yeah, May 28th. So we would be there at 8 AM ideally. And then meet again that night and then vote on all this and, then you're good.
Okay.
I think we may get bogged down in the landscaping of what was drawn and what is built. So, Chris, whatever you can do to get your arms around that
Yes.
will help the
Absolutely.
discussion.
Oh, we actually need to vote on
Continue.
continuing now that we've defined all the terms.
Can I
So-
ask one more question?
Okay, sure.
So would you want me to bring a couple of different mock-ups that I would just hold up while you're at the meeting, or you want me to just pick one and then go from the sketches to see the scale of one? Like at the Concord Museum, I just happened to be there moving stuff around while you guys were there, or do you guys rather meet there alone?
You
If
can
you-
be,
I'm just saying,
We welcome you to come and move things around.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Yeah.
if it makes
Yeah.
it easier, I could bring several mock-ups, just like what we did at Concord Museum, and then just kind of move them around, and you guys might all sort of agree on it, might save time for the next meeting. you know?
sure, yeah,
That
no,
help-
yeah,
That's
that'd be
good.
helpful. If you can do that, great. If
All right.
something comes up and you can't,
Yeah. No, I'm around. I live here.
you
Well,
know
I'm
where
in
you
West
live.
Concord.
Yeah.
but,
Okay,
And-
so,
and we probably should say that we're all trying to get this to work out properly. It's an important sign.
Yeah.
We're honoring that.
so Walter made a movement to continue, and do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Thank you, Dennis. All in favor, Louis, Tim, Walter,
I,
Dennis,
Aye.
and I'm an I. So, thank you very much, Chris and Billy. We will see you in 3 weeks on the
Thank you,
28th.
guys.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Bye.
Thank you.
and Kate, can I just say one thing is, for everybody's information, there are videos of the meetings of 4/7/22 and 5/5/22, if anybody wants to go
Is
revisit.
that when it was?
Yes,
That's why I couldn't remember it. I was in Rome. Excellent.
yeah, April 7th, 22nd was the initial presentation.
Yeah, Tim had asked me
then-
something about this, and I was like, I think I was in Rome. It's a
I
long
did my
time ago.
research. And then 5/5/22 is the second one where it was approved.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's see, is poor Gregory King still hanging in there for 440 Main Street, our continued public hearing? I was not able to make the site visit. There was a site visit there this morning, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's not for the immobile. Who made it? You did, Tim? Louis, you did?
Yep, I was there.
Dennis.
I was there.
Oh, great. Good. Okay.
All of
Uh,
us are there.
Mr. King, you here? Are you muted? I see a G King on the screen.
I am here.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hi, thanks. How are you?
What can I say? What do you want to, what would you like to know?
Well, let's see. Commissioners, do you have any questions from this morning? About what was reviewed?
No, we were pretty thorough. I think we know exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have,
Hey.
we have a presentation that we're looking at for this evening? Because there were unanswered questions.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Do you want
got,
to pull up the application?
I think we should. We were
So we should take
talking
a look at it, just.
Yeah, for the
for
public
reference.
record.
at the end of the last discussion, we were asking about, I think, Tim, you were saying an additional posting. So changing the weight of the look of it a bit. We were concerned about how obvious it was from across the street in terms of sight. And I had asked to, I think we were going to have balloons or something up in sight. So we never did quite get that. We just were taking a look at where the cut was on the tree to roughly mark that. But I'd like to see the application.
Hey, just saying, this view that's shown right here.
Yeah.
Is the little slot that you would see, probably just the roof of the thing, a piece of the roof of the thing, maybe half of it.
Mhm.
So it's, and it's back and it's down 4 feet. And I think Mr. King, he wasn't presenting a different design. He was just explaining that it's, here's the visibility or lack of visibility, and we were just kind of getting used to the topography. So the base of the columns are 4 feet or so down from the front lawn.
Mhm.
There is a wood fence of about 3 feet high with a higher gate, I think, that screens a little bit more of it. So there isn't much, in my opinion, there isn't much showing. There is the hip roof, the addition to the Episcopal Church roof, which was done not too long ago, is a hip roof that sits in. There's 2 roofs. One sits in front of the other one. The one that's closest to the property is a hip roof with quite a shallow hip,
Yeah.
sloping down to the left. And I was just making the comment that if we decide to approve this, that a shallower, something matching that hip roof would seem appropriate. I personally, I think this is quite far away and not terribly visible. That's my opinion now that I've been there. But it is visible. It's a little bit visible. There's a fair amount of vegetation, which we don't usually consider, is blocking most all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would also.
So
Yeah, I would also
Right.
add.
anybody else at the site, correct me if they misstate anything.
Thanks, Tim. Lewis?
Couldn't see it from this. That's
Well, Tim is right. It's visible. I think it's going to. It won't read as very visible because it's the same exact color and shingling as the church behind it. So you almost won't be able to distinguish the difference in color. And I would agree with Tim that he should try to echo the same shallowness and angle of the hip roof of the church. So.
And there also.
Greg was the. Sorry, I was just going to ask that. Greg, I can't remember. Was the proposed shingle color going to be matching the church?
It's the same. It's the same as the
My garage, which is black. So.
Which is the same as the church.
And the same as the church. I'm looking at it
Okay.
now. So, yeah. So would
You have sort of the same color scheme as the church, I guess, your house, is that right?
the church looks to be a brown, that building back there is kind of a brown.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah, right. It's
got-
more natural material, sure.
I've got the Right Tavern red is my color.
Yeah, right.
Now, Tim or Louis, when you said that the roof of the pergola should be a little more shallow,
No,
then
where you don't have the actual with the drawing of the pergola, do we have it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd like to see the drawing if we could again.
Yeah.
And or Kim, I don't know if that, you can pull that up. So just looking at that, I would guess that's steeper than the line we're talking about. So I would recommend that, it's very easy to have a shallower hip roof. You just lower the hip. And that would drop the ridge down a couple of feet if you mimic that pretty shallow church hip roof line beyond. And then the roof would come down and it would be a little less prominent and still work with snow and water and everything else. It's just the way you frame it.
Mr. King, what do you think of that?
Well, when you say a shallower hip roof, does someone give me specs by which to build something on, or shallower than what?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Shallower than what's drawn. You have the architect drawing this up, correct?
That's right, but I guess I'm wondering how we know, we're looking at this drawing and we're saying that hip roof is too steep, yet we don't have that picture within the context. I guess I'm that's all, I guess, but I see that 12 and 7 there. Maybe that's got something to do with the slope.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you just
So
give me?
so the architect would just go and as best he or she can take a guesstimate of what that hip roof is on the church and apply it to yours. So it'd just be a shallower pitch. You're still gonna have hip rafters and it's gonna be very similar framing. It's just a lower roof, a lower ridge.
Yeah. Draw a line across it that represents 3 feet shorter, and you're there.
Okay. All right.
So it'd be a resubmission of design.
Okay.
And my 2 cents on this is that I was pleased to be there physically and take a look at it. It's not nearly as obtrusive as I thought that it might be. I do agree that it should be the same color as the other roofs, and that should be something that we all swear to, and that will just pretty much make the thing disappear from there. And if the hip is down lower, it removes the other spec that we're even talking about.
Okay.
Kate, you're muted.
Thank you, Dennis. I was just
You're
hanging
talking away.
I'm just wondering how, okay, so what I was saying was to streamline this for Mr. King, so he doesn't have to necessarily come before us again. But, can we vote on lowering the pitch and then he just submits the new design for administrative approval,
As far as I'm concerned, that's fine.
right?
Yeah, I would agree, yeah, with Dennis.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's if there, let me see if there's any public comment from anybody about 440 Main Street with the new pavilion near Trinity Church, where I'm theoretically a member. Okay. All right, well, it doesn't seem like there is. So would somebody like to make a motion?
I can make a motion. I move that we approve Mr. King's 440 Main Street petition to remove his pergola and replace it with a pavilion that matches the pitch of the church behind it.
And is there,
Church hip roof directly behind it.
Behind it, yeah.
and anything about the color of the roof? Or is that in the application?
And that the color match the black asphalt as his as the church and his structure next to it.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dennis. All in favor, I'll go around. Walter,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Louis,
All right.
Dennis,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So the ayes have it. So does that all make sense to you, Mr. King?
Indeed.
Great. Okay, so what we would need you to do to get your certificate of appropriateness is just submit the revised, roof dimensions, proportions, and for the record, and then that should be it.
Sure, I guess one question is I need to get with the church's architect to find out what the slope was there.
Um,
How does one do that?
I think your architect could probably just look at it and then eyeball it.
Yeah, I would say they should be able to eyeball it on site
yeah.
pretty closely. They may have to look out a window of your house to get up at it's that line right there. That one, yes.
Mhm.
That roof is in front of the roof beyond.
Right.
So if I were your architect, I'd just wing it. But wing it carefully. It's not that hard to figure out on site.
You can hold a
Okay.
protractor up, right? And eyeball
Yeah,
it.
it's just an adjustable triangle.
Yeah.
She'll have a way to figure that. It doesn't have to be absolutely spot on. We're looking for something quite close. So
Got it. Super.
Any other questions for us? From you, Mr. King?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you very much for coming before us. And I believe that concludes our applications. Now we can move on to something very exciting, and that is hearing from the MCI Concord Community Outreach Subcommittee representative, which I think is supposed to be Peter Lowett.
Yes.
Did I pronounce your last name right? Is it Lowett or Lowett?
Lowett, yes, you've got it correct.
Thanks. Oops, sorry about that. So the commissioners, you all know about this, right? And you would have seen the email. The subcommittee is, every day, outreaching to somebody. So we're lucky to have them to ourselves tonight. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, no, thank you. I wanted to thank the commission for your extensive memo laying out your concerns for the redevelopment of the MCI site. It was a lot of thought went into it, and I just want to make sure that I'm taking away.
Excuse me, sorry.
Sure.
That
And
was
is that-
actually the historical commission, not the historic
Oh my
district
God.
commission.
I was like, we
well.
did? And that's Dennis.
No,
But we'll take credit for it.
HDC.
Yeah, I know, like, yes.
Go for it.
all the good
Peter,
stuff.
Peter,
I'm
we
sure
gave a
you would
lot
have
of thought to that
Yeah,
memo. I
we've
just
been
want
getting
you to know.
together every morning.
All right, all right.
Guys,
So,
I've been out for 3 weeks, so I was really impressed with you guys. Wow. Maybe I'll stay out.
well, let me remove my foot from my mouth, and we can start all over again. So, I'm here to sort of listen and try and take away from this conversation your concerns about the redevelopment of the MCI site. So, generally, we ask sort of 3 questions, sort of like, what would you like to see done with the site? The second question is, what would you like us to sort of avoid doing on the site? And the third is, what would you like to sort of continue to occur at the site? So why don't we start with your thoughts on what you would like to see roll out in terms of development on the site. So remember, it's like 60 acres. It's got riverfront setback. It's got the wastewater treatment facility, and it's got Junction Village just south of it. And there are a number of important historic structures. There's the Cummings House across Route 2. There's the administrative building. And then there's one of the white houses on Com Ave that remain. So eager to hear your thoughts. And I hope they echo the historic district commissions. No, go ahead.
Just a question. Since we're historic districts, are you asking from a committee point of view, kind of, or is this really just everybody's personal?
So if you've got a committee perspective, I'd like to hear that. Your colleagues had suggested a discontiguous historic district. And I was thrilled to see the word discontiguous on a piece of paper because I hadn't seen it in a long time. So thoughts, you can go individually or as a group.
Dennis, would you mind kicking off? Because you've given this a lot of thought.
I sent in a few comments to John Boynton. Nothing too heavy. Obviously, there are a lot of community needs that should be met. I mean, we're talking about a structure for taxes that are out of balance, business or versus residential, but we also need more housing. So I think those would be high priorities. There'd be some kind of economic vitality there that would not be residential, whatever that may be. And I know that's a hard thing to do. I agree that we really need to protect those buildings and reuse them. And they could be used in any number of ways, I gather. I was also concerned that it is not be a disconnected blob that it connects to West Concord. So there's an easy flow between West Concord Center and this location, so that reads as one area. High on my list was making sure it doesn't look like Minted Marketplace, which is just absolutely hideous.
I saw that comment, yeah.
Which is really hideous, and I suggested, even though it may be a bit out there, some of the work done by Ben Pentreath in England. I know it sounds highfalutin that he created villages for the King of England. He created them for the Prince of Wales, but they are based on humans, not cars. And sure. Most of what we design is based on cars, and also it is not based on an efficient use, frankly, of land, in that it isn't just quadrants. So it looks like Midtown Manhattan. It has winding streets. It has businesses on the bottom, apartments over. So it looks like a village and has that sort of village feel. So I urge you to take a look at those. They're an English version. We want an American version without getting too twee and cute. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts.
Thank you, Dennis. That's great. Others?
I heard, I don't know if it was at a chair's breakfast or at one of the joint CHC-HDC strategy meetings that we've been having on Friday mornings, that maybe was it Mary Hartman, someone you think's the idea of turning the superintendent's house into a hotel is a possibility. I thought that was a good idea, actually, because the building, I think we are interested as the HDC is in preserving, and I don't, that might be a good way to do it, since also we don't have a lot of hotel needs, and that could be an economic impact driver. I don't know. I don't know. Is that also in your remit?
Yes,
Superintendent's house?
certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. No, that's a great idea. We've kicked around Liberty Hotel 2
Right,
as
right. That's
Right.
as place to consider. But yeah, that's very good. And so we've had a couple of questions. Someone has suggested, like relocating the administrative building, that we've just talked about for the hotel. I was somewhat sanguine about that, and I really wanted to get your input on that. There's also been talk about relocating the fountain and moving it interior to the redevelopment, so it can be sort of a focal point within sort of a walking village, as Dennis was laying out. But I'd like to get your input in terms of whether moving the administrator's house we should even have it on the table for discussion or not.
That's a big build.
Yeah.
You're talking
Yeah.
about the great
Yeah.
brick, Victorian building.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know.
A little bit of money.
Yeah, big masonry building that will fall apart as soon as you start moving it.
Yeah.
I would be amazed if you could move that and make any economic sense at all with it, but
Well, plus, I was just thinking in moving it also in terms of historical context. I mean,
right.
that really was the back beyond there when that prison was set up. And I mean, there's no other building like that in town anyway, and particularly then. And sure, context changes when everything else around it is going to change. Its context changed when a brutalist HQ went up next to it. But still on the original site, that was sort of still the real sort of hem end of town. I don't know if that's something that an HDC would be wild about. It's not in our purview right now, but it would be odd, I think.
You're also lucky that it's very set back from Route 2. It isn't right on Route 2.
Yeah.
You take a look at it, it's a good setback there. And another thing you need to consider is what's going to happen to Route 2. Mary Hartman at one point talked about the plans for Route 2. And are they going under? Are they going over? When will that be done? And how much do we want to engage? Do we want to have her back to Route 2, or do we want to engage Route 2? I think those are a lot of questions.
Yeah, those are great questions, Dennis. We've thought about maybe keeping it in the exact location as sort of an entry way to sort of the new West Concord, village connector that you sweep in on Comm Ave, and the administration building is there as sort of an entry post. But the whole context of Route 2, we're going to be done with our process before DOT really makes a decision. So we're sort of looking at this as an opportunity to sort of draw a line in the sand and say, we want development to be south of this area. And you can take an area north of where we draw the line to do your Route 2 changes. So, if you think about the parking lot on Comm Ave, and they've got those big light stanchions. So we thought you'd go into sort of like the second light stanchion and give them some of that area to make whatever cloverleaf or off ramps to get into West Concord that they're looking for. And we stake our line and say, don't do anything below that. So everything's wide open, and your professional input is very, very welcome at this point. If you go to the MCI Advisory Board website, there's a survey that was just released on Monday. So take a look at that. I invite you to do that, and give us your thoughts on the redevelopment process. Did anybody get to go to any of the community engagement that we had last week?
No.
No, I can't walk right now.
Kate, you've got the best excuse of
There you go.
anybody.
Exhibit A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Well, hopefully you'll be hobbling around before too long.
Thanks. No, I don't know if anyone from our group did. Someone was going to try to go. I thought, was Bill going to try to go to one? I don't know. Anyone here make it?
Nope. Unfortunately, I couldn't.
But we'll be putting up some of the slides and posters and stuff onto the website shortly. And I again invite you to take a look. They tried to do a good job of going through the sort of history of this site, from the great encampment to the industrial components of the prison and reformatory phase, through Timothy Leary and Malcolm X. And we want to sort of look at taking part of that history and incorporating it into the redevelopment. There have been ideas to like keep at least a prison cell and maybe a section of the wall, and sort of put that into sort of a public museum type of area that we could incorporate into the redevelopment. But, you know, these are ideas that have coming from the community, and there have been some really excellent thoughts that have been shared with us.
Hey, Peter, I worked on Baker Ave for a bunch of years, and then I also had an office over near Neshoba Bakery. So I've been around the fringes of that whole site. And obviously with the rail trail having gone in, I bike on that a lot. And that's a big line running right along the property. But hasn't there been talk of the whole Baker Ave side of the other side of the river trying to get foot traffic to get to, we would try to get to West Concord to have lunch. I would have to walk this circuitous route. And it's a lovely, the whole natural flow of the river and woods back there is such an amenity that ties into West Concord and potentially the whole Baker Ave extension or whatever that stuff's called. Is that?
Yeah,
You know,
so
these things that fingers going out, and isn't just this contained thing.
Yeah, there is a bridge proposed. I think it's through 25% design, but it's moving forward, so it's progressing. There's funding assigned to it. But you know, we've heard some great ideas, such as a West Concord green-blue connector that uses the bikeway as sort of a spine. So imagine going from White's Pond to Warner's Pond with greenway and water features along the way, sort of taking advantage of what nature's provided us, as you were recommending, Jim. So trying to integrate those ideas into the redevelopment of the MCI site. I think the committee's pretty much on board with trying to utilize the natural assets of the river and the green space along it, which we can't develop, and the bike path to try and get people out of their cars and walking to West Concord or biking to West Concord as much as we can. And, you know, in order to do that, we're going to need to do things like look at having reduced parking in the area. I mean, one of the big drivers is pavement. And if we want to have a little, modern American village, I don't think it needs, 3 parking spaces per dwelling unit. Maybe it's 1, because you're within walking distance of a village and a commuter rail area. But those are things we're going to have to discuss with the community at large and get their buy-in. But hearing from you all that this is something that you might consider and support would would certainly carry weight in the rest of the community.
I think we'd be very interested in getting involved, and I think maybe working on a spot historic district for some of the historic buildings over there. We can certainly do that.
Yeah.
And we could do that sooner than later if that wouldn't be intrusive, and we could go to town meeting next year and create those spot historic districts.
Yeah, your colleagues had suggested that there needs to be a contextual study with research on the cultural landscape, and then that would be folded into a National Register nomination, and an archaeological assessment and photo documentation for the historic record of what's currently there before the wrecking ball comes in. And it's going to be a while before that happens, so the context in which this is happening is we're looking now for the big ideas. So the big idea in Dennis's thought process would be sort of a modern American village connected to West Concord that sort of is respectful of the context. That then would be translated into zoning. And once the zoning has been adopted and voted on by the town in 2026, then DCAM, who owns the property, puts out a request for proposals. Developer comes in, and then they have to go and get permits to actually implement the plan and the zoning that the community has put in place. Once they get their permits, then and only then will DCAM sell them the property. So we've sort of got these checks and balances built in to make sure that the community's perspective is going to be respected and included in the redevelopment process. But it means we're going to have to agree as a community on what the zoning is, and maybe there'll need to be development agreements and a couple of other things to make sure that our concerns are incorporated into the project. So that's sort of the background context.
Yeah, I think it's something we ought to all realize that that the town, and I understand this, do not want to be developers. So in the end, the town is not developing this property. They're finding a developer to work with. The downside about that is the developer wants to make money. So, there's this trade-off that goes with what we think would be an ideal place and what they say, which is how you end up with managed marketplaces, because that sort of cheap construction is what developers want to do. So I think it's going to be a real challenge, but I think the town, and I can understand why, are not in the development business. So they don't want to be developers here. They want to find someone to develop it. But it has its pitfalls.
Yes. When I was living in Georgetown, the waterfront there, Georgetown has a waterfront, had been, that was something identified as, needed, sort of revitalization, development, whatever else, but the district didn't want to do it. It's exactly like you're saying. And so it really stalled the development for a long time because of, the developer wanting one thing and, a village wanting another. And they battled out an uneasy truce after a while, but it took a while. So hopefully that wouldn't be the case here. And it added years to the project.
We're going to keep our fingers crossed. It's going to be harder
Peter,
to type that way, but
I started working in West Concord 20 years ago, 2005. And it was still cheap rent. I was working over in the Neshoba Bakery, and it was just raw drywall space. And so you have photographers, artists, architects, people could afford, artistic types could afford West Concord. And I assume it's probably kind of priced out by now. And I just wonder if there's been any discussion of, and this is no help on the on the tax situation, trying to increase commercial tax, but if there was a building that was dedicated to low rent, simple, bare bones artist studios that keeps those kind of people in the community, so it isn't just expensive to extremely expensive. And it can be the rawest of the raw space. You know, artists are very good at the owner of that building at the Neshoba Bakery. He since sold it, but he just put up drywall and met code and nothing else. And we did the rest, you know, and it was a lot of fun. It was great space with a lot of interesting people. And, you know, until that whole residential development happened in West Concord, as you know, there were just a whole bunch of wrecked built old commercial buildings that were filled with a whole bunch of other architects who were, you know, and furniture makers. And so it would be nice to somehow protect some building, you know, it's sort of John Boynes did some of that with those furniture buildings over there where he kept the rents down and just fixed them up enough. And it's a good mix of people in there. If there's some place where those people could still stay and survive in West Concord, it would be great.
So part of the analysis that our consultant team did was they looked at what, you know, buildings that might stay within the prison for reuse. And there might be a, you know, one or two that might fit into that category, Tim. You know, we want to make sure that we are generating, you know, tax revenue. And we're going to be doing a fiscal impact analysis of each of the three scenarios that the consultant team develops so that we can, you know, try and compare apples to apples as a community and get the sense of what Dennis was saying, you know, well, you know, the developer has to get a return. What's it going to look like at the end of the day? So this will allow us to look at that a bit. So hopefully we can accommodate that, but, you know, no promises. This is all the idea stage, and
Sure.
I haven't heard one yet that I haven't, you know, liked. So
Peter, do you happen to know of the fate of the minimum security part, the farm? Because I thought
yeah,
that
the farm is still a going concern and will be at this point, as
Cool.
far as we know.
Because Tim, someone a couple of years ago, I think when it sort of leaked out that some things were going to be closed in the mass correctional system, we were at Concord Art, we were sort of talking about like if the minimum one was decommissioned, turning that into artist studios, you know, because that's not quite a viable space. It's sort of harder because it's, you know, pushed back. It is and it isn't, depending if you want to develop the farmland. So I was going to throw that as a bone to you, but it sounds like it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Not that we're aware of.
We can still go there for $3.64 lunches, though, in the meantime. You should all do if you haven't done yet.
I still
Is
haven't
there-
done that. Is that still going on?
Oh, yeah. All right, we'll go. I'll
Yeah.
show you the ropes. I you know,
All right,
I got the
we'll go.
inside track on that place. You, is there any, have you heard of anything about maybe like another rec center going up there?
So that's one of the ideas that has been generated. We've heard everything from hockey to a soccer stadium to a more modest proposal for just indoor soccer. So there is an existing gymnasium that's inside the facility. That's one of the buildings that is recommended to be retained or considered for reuse. So that there might be an opportunity there. And then we all hear the continuous plink plink outcry for more pickleball courts. So
Oh, God.
Pickle. Huh, right. No, it's true. I don't know where Pickle's gonna be in 10 or 15 years as a rackets player, but okay.
You're not playing.
Yeah.
not this week.
Not anytime soon, sadly. But someday, guys, maybe in time to play on these courts at the rate I'm going. All right, well, let's see. Anything else?
Sure, put a school in there.
We have a dropping population. They already had to cut teachers in each of the grammar schools.
Oh, I'm not talking public school, but a wonderful private school, not not Ivy League track, but there are a lot of populations in the state, the country, and the world that aren't being served. I'm actually on the search committee for a local school. So
Great, as long as you're willing to talk to the select board about payments in lieu of taxes, it might be a consideration.
could very well be. Yeah. Just saying.
Thank you, Walter. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. I'm glad you're working
Thank
on
you.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. My pleasure, and thanks for the opportunity to chat with you. And sorry I mixed you up with your
No, we were really riding high there for a couple of moments.
mission
I was like, yeah.
cousins.
Kind of a kick in the pants. Maybe we should do
I know, exactly. Now we're like, oh, ours must have gotten lost.
Shame.
Yeah. But
Right.
yeah, now I want to see it.
Well, I saw Anne's name, and she signed the cover letter with their comments, so I just sort of conflated them. I apologize.
They're the thinkers and we're the doers.
Oh, those could be fighting words.
I don't know. You guys exhibited some good thinking earlier today, so
Well, thank you.
you might want to retract.
That'll get me in
that
trouble.
They're very kind.
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity. And again, I advise you to visit the MCI Advisory Board website and look for the survey and fill that out, and then just sort of scroll back, because there'll be the presentations from the citizen engagement process, which were actually very, very thoughtful and good. And I think, it would give you a little confidence that things are moving in the right direction. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Peter.
Yep.
Night.
Good night.
I mean, you're welcome to stay while we go. over-
Yeah.
More
We'll
thinking.
see. I have some paint I wanted to watch dry on the wall. So
Oh, good. Oh, well,
I'll
Yeah.
see you guys
time to
later.
do it.
Ooh, ooh.
Good
Oh,
night.
yes.
Okay.
I can now have a glass of wine.
Wow, you've been letting it sit there. You haven't put your head out of the frame, Tim?
A couple of times.
Yeah, that's surreptitious. Okay, so then we've got some minutes to approve. I couldn't find them, so I didn't read them.
Documents, they're under documents for this meeting on the
I don't know.
HTC website.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they're the
why.
ones that were sent a long time ago.
No, they're just there.
There were a whole
Maybe
slew of
I'm
them.
rusty. I think I'm rusty. I think I wasn't looking in the right place, Walter.
Okay.
All right, well, I didn't read them. Did anyone read them?
I did.
I did not.
Walter did, I know.
Walter did. Okay, what do you have to say, Walter?
Well, 10/4/24, the extra meeting, I was not there. It lasted 16 minutes and seemed like it was matter of fact, and I would not have any, this was the emergency wall.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't
Take
there,
it
so I
down.
can't speak to the accuracy of what happened, but I have no reason to question that it was not accurately reported.
Oh, yeah, I think that was me, Tim, Bill, Lewis, Melinda, maybe?
That would, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah, I'm sure that was fine.
I'm
Okay.
sure it is. Then the second one, yeah, my note here is I wasn't there, so no can say. The second one, that I have one change I would make, which was I was spelled out as Walter Clay rather than Mr. Clay, which is the only instance I've ever seen that in the minutes anywhere.
Hmm.
So I would make that change.
Mhm.
And then in the third set for 10/30/24, there was an interesting change in use of tense in the prose description. It went from the normal past tense to a short passage of present tense, which is one of the things that really annoys me in modern reportage. Then I went
Just
back.
tell me it was present tense and second person to boot. So, like,
probably, no,
so you
I
want to
remember
build a wall and you think, no, it wasn't.
Right, so, Mr. Clay says, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. Said to match all the rest. So I would make the tenses agree through there. Other than that, I have no qualm, no problem, no beef, no anything.
Okay, well then, would someone make a motion to?
I move we approve the minutes as proposed for 10/4/24, 10/9/24, and 10/30/24.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Tim. I think we can just raise our hands for this one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes.
Excellent.
There you go.
Thank you. Thanks, Walter.
Thanks, Walter.
You, Walter.
It's better than paint drying, just barely. Yeah, what?
Only slightly.
Hmm. I guess that's it. Anne or Kim, anything else for us? Look at Billy Crosby stayed on. He couldn't
I
keep.
think so.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Well, then I'll ask for another motion. Who would like to
Move
make?
we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Nice to see you guys, and hope everyone's enjoying the spring.